G'day everyone, just bear with me. I'm just going to take a seat. I'm going to take a seat under my avocado tree here so you can have this beautiful background of my avocados. Before we start this video, I just wanted to do a shout out to a YouTube friend of mine. He's literally just started a YouTube channel. He was posting a lot of videos on Facebook, and he's Italian, I believe. He's been brought up gardening, and he has a new YouTube channel, and I want all of my subscribers, if you could please, to check his channel out. It's Paulie's Down to Earth Gardens. He's an amazing bloke. He's a character, that's for sure. But I'm hoping one day to meet this guy. He's growing his own food for the same reason I am, and that's to, well, be more self-sufficient, obviously, but not only that, it comes down to health, my health. After looking in, studying and looking at how things are grown, you just don't know what you're putting in your mouth. I'm not going to go into all the details. I could make another hour-long video about it, but the reasons I started creating my food forest is so I know what is going into my mouth. I want to be healthier. I want my family to be healthier. And Paulie, he's definitely a guy that I think is inspirational. And I would love it if all of my subscribers would head down and subscribe to his channel. I'll say it again, Paulie's Down to Earth Gardens. You'll love him. He's a character, trust me. Alright, we'll get into the video. See you later. G'day everyone, Gareth here from Organic Growing Melbourne. Again, it's been a while since I've done a video. I'm just so busy these days, I just haven't had time. But I got home early today, so I thought I'd do a video. This is my asparagus bed. So some of the crowns that I've planted in here are a couple of years old now, and now I'm prepping it. So all this you can see in here is the asparagus ferns that have died back. So I prune them and then I just lay them back on the bed. It's all good organic matter. I've got some yacon cuttings here. I just lie that on the top of the bed because, as you can see, I had this garden bed full to the top with nice organic matter for the asparagus, and you can see how much it's actually come down. In fact, this whole top garden bed is loose because there's nothing in that top one at the moment. But I'm going to fill that up and get it prepped for next year. Or I should say this year. So I put everything down, so chop and drop, chuck everything in there. It's all good organic matter that'll break down, and it's all going to be beneficial for the asparagus. And if you look at the existing soil that's in here, it's pretty much broken down to quite a loomy soil. And so we want to get some nice organic matter back in there, encourage the worms up. So that's the first bit I do, and then I get some hay or straw. That's just a cheap $10 bale, and I spread all this over it as well. So this will all break down. This is going to attract all the worms up here, get them to poo and start enriching this soil again. Of course, you don't have to do this. This is just what I do. I have a lot of organic matter that I use. Most of the hay I use is actually for the chickens, but I bought some today and I just use a small amount of it when I refurb some veggie patches. We're not going to see asparagus now for a while. As soon as it starts to warm up again, so sort of the Got some more in here. By the time the asparagus starts growing again, this would have broken down enough for it to find its way back through. And what I'll do is, this will get weighed down with some nice aged compost, and it will weigh it down, and then I'll mound it, and then that will break down again and get to the level. But I'll show you the compost. If you remember, I did a video not long ago on the chicken manure and how I rake up because I layer the chicken coop with straw. I'll go and show you in case you didn't see that video. So these bales, so one bale at a time, gets spread all over the floor here of the chicken coop, and you can see how the straw breaks down. The chickens till it, they poo in it, and then you're left with a nice rich manure fertiliser. As you can see here, they roost outside, you see, because this is fully enclosed. They prefer to roost outside here. Even when it's raining, they all sort of huddle up underneath this roof bit. But this all breaks down. I'll rake this up when this is all broken down. You could do it now, and I'll put another bale spread out through here, and then once that's all broken down to sort of that point, I rake it up and I put it in a compost bin, which is the worms don't really go for it straight away because the poo's really rich. But if you look in here, this is it here, and even the worms are already coming up, so that's a good sign that this is not going to be too strong for any plants and vegetables. You can see them, there they are in there, look at them, heaps of worms in there now. And this is what I'm going to put on the top of all that straw and hay. So I'll lift this compost bin up. So this is a combination of straw, chicken manure and grass clippings, and then also prunings, and not really sort of any hardwood, because hardwood takes a long time to break down. You can see all the prunings from the fruit trees over the last couple of years. They're all still there. Even the vines of the kiwi fruit are all still here from last year. And that's what I do with my prunings. When I've pruned all my fruit trees, I don't get rid of them. They go underneath the mulch. You can see here, old prunings here. I can't even get them out. They'll be there for years, but they will slowly break down, and they encourage all those beneficial insects that you want in your mulch. And a good example is my avocado tree underneath it. This is a chop and drop. I've got clients' lily-pilly trunks that they've just cut out. I just chuck them under here, and eventually I'll get some more arborist mulch, and that goes on the top of it all. Helps it break down. And you can already see these old palm trees that I've put in here are actually now, look, breaking up. And look at all this beneficial stuff that's in here. It's almost pure worm castings inside that. And I can smell that fresh, earthy smell coming out from that too. It smells fantastic. Look at that. Look at the worms eating it. They get in everywhere. And then look at that. Just breaking this up, and there's worms inside the trunk of this palm tree. I mean, it looks ugly, but if you're into growing organic, healthy soils, organic fruit and vegetables, this is the way to go. You can't get any more natural than this. All this is breaking down to feed my avocado tree, which I'll be coming in here soon to do the prune, because you've got all these old branches here which are dead, which had the old fruit on them. You see here, they all just... But you don't want to keep dead wood on a tree. It can cause mould and rot into the actual live part of the tree, so we'll prune that right back. Alright, chop and drop, guys. That's essentially what my mulch is, really. It's just speeding up that process a bit. And this is several years now of mulching. Hey, don't peck the camera, stop it. Chickens, wow. Alright, we'll go back to the compost bin. So I'm going to lift this compost bin right up and we're going to see if I can. There we go. I'll chuck this in the barrel. The chickens are going to raid this. They'll know that there's a heap of worms about to come up. Alright, there we go. Look at that. Have a look at that. Oh yeah, that is beautiful. It smells amazing. See a layer of straw that I've put down here. Look at all the worms that are packed up in here though. Oh, that is beautiful. Look at that. Beautiful organic. So we'll get this in the barrow and then I'll come back when I'm over in the asparagus bed. Alright guys, I just want to quickly show you the other compost bin here, which is obviously nowhere near ready, but there is a layer below that is, but I just want to show you the activity under here. Get ready for this. Have a look at all of these worms, and they're all in amongst the sweet potato vine, which they've started to eat. But you can look at them all. They come up. The chicken manure is not really a problem, but I'm going to take this top layer off and use that bottom layer because I didn't quite have enough. I could put that in, but I want to put something back in the compost. Alright, so we'll come back in a minute. Like I said, I told you the chickens would start inhaling all the worms. There you have it. That'll go back in at the bottom. I'll put some grass clippings in. I sometimes will just throw my grass clippings along the edge here as well, under the avocado, just to spread it out a bit. The bananas don't mind it up on the trunks, and you can fill it up around them. But again, you'll have all the worms coming up to the top. Not at the moment though, but they will. That's only fresh. It's only been there for a few days, that. But eventually that'll break down. Alright, I'm going to show you what I got out of this one, because it's very different in the way it looks. Because this one had a layer of the bedding inside the chicken coop, the actual cubby, and and that looks like it takes a lot longer to break down than straw or hay. So this is the first lot, and this is the second lot, and you can see it's a bit more dense, but you can see worms are just all the way through it. There's big clumps. These will break up when I put it in. Some things sprouting, or old roots or something. I just chuck that in. It's all good for the garden. You can see here more of a sawdust, as you can see here, which I probably won't use anymore, mainly because I don't know where it's from. This is grass that's breaking down. That sort of ends up being a bit of a sloppy mess, but it eventually breaks down and ends up looking pretty good. This is more grass here, you can see it's just slimy. But what we're going to put on top of this, once we put this in here, then I put another layer of hay or straw over the top, and you can get sugarcane mulch, pea straw, it doesn't matter. I just go up to the farm stock place up the road and just get $10 bales of hay. It goes a long way, one bale. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this in, put some hay on top, and then I'll come back and we'll discuss a little bit more. Alright guys, there's both compost bins. You can see the difference between the first compost bin and the second one. I think there's a lot more grass clippings in this one. Still got eggshells. You can grind them up, I don't worry about it. Tomatoes, old tomatoes, the lettuce that you saw before, and you can see this is a lot wetter as well, but it's also, it had a lot more worms in it. You can see everywhere I dig, we just find worms, see? But I'm going to put more in here. I'm going to go into the chook pen. I'm going to then rake up all that stuff I showed you earlier, and then I'm going to put that on the top and then finish it with the hay like I said before. Alright, so bear with me, I'll be back in a minute. Alright, we're back. I almost forgot my worm castings. So these are the bottom levels of my worm farms, or two of them anyway, which are pretty much ready to go. This slosh you see on the top was actually the very bottom where the tap is, which shouldn't have worm castings in, but once it gets really fine, it's pretty much what it will be at the bottom, where as in the top layer you can see it crumbles a bit, and I suggest to mix your worm castings first. You can see lots of worms in here, but my worm farms are so highly populated that I don't even bother trying to separate them now. You can see all those worm castings there. It's almost 100% worm castings in here. That slosh probably definitely is. There's still a little bit of organic matter left in here, but really not much. Like, you squeeze it and it smells good. Trust me, it doesn't smell like poo. Now I'm going to add these two to the top of this as well. If you just put worm castings in a lump like that, that will set, that'll dry out, and it will just set. So you're best off breaking it up into smaller pieces, sprinkling it around. This is just another, point the camera in the right spot, this is just another organic homegrown fertilizer, and obviously you're introducing hundreds, well no, not hundreds, thousands and thousands of worms, and I wouldn't be surprised if there's thousands and thousands of eggs, little tiny babies. See if I can find anything. See some little tiny ones in here. The camera might not be picking it up, but some very small ones in there. But this is all going to help come September, when all this is broken down and feeding the new crowns that will be coming up. Worm castings go a long way. Probably one of the best fertilizers you can give any type of plant. So just sprinkle it over, and of course the hay or straw will go over the top, or the sugarcane mulch, or whatever it is you're using. So the reason I do my compost and my worm farms is I want to eventually, and I'm pretty much almost there actually. I don't think I've used any for a while. I don't want to use any store-bought fertilizers at all. I want to use purely all that stuff up the top. There's just worm castings. Just empty this out. I'll clean this out, and then we'll get into this one. Look at that. You see this white stuff, that's some sort of fly larvae, I think. But don't worry about it. They'll die. Oh, this is nice stuff in here. So, what do we got on here? We got compost, chicken manure, hay or straw, worm castings, eggs, worm eggs. You can't get anything more natural than this. Look at it. I mean, if you were here, you could smell this. Just the smell of earth, the smell of clean, organic stuff. It's amazing. So this is a lot of worm castings for this, but you saw how well it had broken down and had pretty much turned into a loomy soil. And that's what you got to correct every year, is that loomy soil. You don't need to replace it, you don't need to dig it all out and go buy $180 worth of raised garden veggie mix, because honestly I've done that and the stuff is, excuse my French, shit. Literally, I'm not kidding. Worst stuff you can use to grow vegetables, and that's from a landscape supplier. Had no nutrients in it. I measured the pH in it and I can't remember what it was, but it was out. But this is just gonna, and you know, this still, although it's nicely broken down, it's still not doing its stuff. It's gonna sit in here and break down now. Alright, let's empty the last of these worm castings in here, and then I'll hose these buckets out. Just spread this out. I've probably introduced thousands of worms from those two worm bins there. Now these two worm bins now go in the top, and then I'll start putting the veggie scraps in the top of those. And then by next time I'm refurbing a garden bed, the one at the bottom now will be ready to use. In fact, they were pretty close. If I could show you, I won't now, but if I showed you, you'd see that they're almost ready to use. Right, now it's time to put the hay on top. Alright guys, there's the finished product. You can see how much higher that is. It's probably half a foot higher than the garden bed, but trust me, that will break down to below that top garden bed there. So let's just recap, right? So obviously my asparagus grows here. So the first thing I did was prune them all down to the garden bed level, and then laid them down on top of the garden bed. And then on top of that I put some other prunings. I think I had some corn, I think some old corn that was lying around, and some other prunings. And then I started laying on the compost from my compost bins, which was also a mixture of the chicken manure out of the chicken coop. And then on top of that, we then applied 2 bins of almost 100% worm castings. It would have to be 95% worm castings. A lot of the stuff that stays is eggshells, you see. So 2 bins, and then on top of that we put a heap of straw or hay, whatever you want to call it. I don't even know what the difference is. I'll water this in a bit. This not only is going to provide a huge amount of nutrients to the asparagus come September, when that temperature just warms up slightly, it's also going to warm up in there. It's going to protect it from the frost. It's going to be slightly warmer in there from all of that composting. It's going to create some heat in there as well, which could even potentially start growing some more asparagus. It's happened to me before. Alright, there it is. That's how I refurb my asparagus bed. I hope you enjoyed watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share. And don't forget the thumbs up. It's always good to see a heap of thumbs ups. Alright, thanks for watching everyone. Take care, bye.